for you to do anything of substance, you got to piss people off.
Do you want to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish? Triple my revenue and exit at this, and now he's holding me accountable to what I said, and I don't like that.
90% of the reason why people leave a company is... Hey everybody, welcome back to the Built to Sell It podcast. I'm sitting here with Spencer Brannan, from Culture Index. And what they do is they help you identify the right people for your roles with a test. And we do use it full transparency at LB Capital. And it's helped us with our growth. So we got someone on the podcast here today that actually helped our growth. A little nugget for everyone. I believe in the product. I like the product. Think it works well. I think they misdiagnosed me, but that's a whole nother conversation. So Spencer, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you for flying in, and I appreciate you being here in person. And tell everybody who you are real fast.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. I was a little unexpected to be in this cold weather when I showed up, but it's worth being here in person. So yeah, Spencer Brannan with Culture Index, and like you said, we help people, our companies, and a lot in the home service industry primarily, figure out who's on their team, how they're hardwired, and how to strategically put them in the right spots to win.
And how do you do that? Just so people know, right from the get.
So yeah, you had mentioned it right from the get-go. You had said a test. We actually what we call a survey. We use a personality survey, and what it is really, and we call it a survey because there's no questions. Usually, a test involves questions, and you got to answer certain questions. This is just a list of words and 2 prompts. The reason why that's important, and I make the distinction not to call you out on calling it a test or a survey, but the difference is it's really, all these assessments or like you said, tests are measuring the same things. We're measuring 6 or 7 core traits. We have 7, but in general, they're measuring 6 core traits. A test uses what's called forced question testing. So it makes everybody kind of answer a certain number. Here's this, and 1, 2, or 3, those are your choices. The problem with that is sometimes some of the questions don't apply to you.
Yeah.
And so you're answering stuff as best you can, but it takes a lot of the validity or the reliability of something like that. It's going to reduce it because it's too generalized. It's great because it's digestible for the masses, right? It's an easy report to read. What we do is when you take those 7 core traits and you measure them using what's called free choice association, it's actually positive reinforced free choice. That's a mouthful though. But positive forced free choice association, you allow people to resonate, just choosing words that they resonate with. They're not answering questions they don't relate to. And it's the same sort of biological principles as a lie detector test. Have you ever done a lie detector test?
No, I haven't.
All right, so you're not guilty. That's good to know. That's good to know. All right, well,
a lot of shit in my life. Never did a lie detector test.
Yeah, you get strapped up. I haven't done one either, right? Thank God. At least because they couldn't find me. But you get strapped up into this thing, and they're gonna ask you certain questions to create a baseline, and then they ask you questions. If it's not true, you're gonna.
Spencer, you know a lot about this, pal.
Listen, was this an indication like I had to put something in my mouth?
No, I figured mine could be a myth.
All right, I appreciate that.
I mean, the test only takes, the quiz or the survey only takes about a minute. That's what it took me.
Yeah, well,
that's right why you misdiagnosed.
It's fast. It's fast, and that's what blew me away with it, right? Actually, I want to know that. I want to get a little into that too. You got to tell me more why you're misdiagnosed. I have your profile,
Do you really?
Yeah.
What's my profile say to you? I want to hear how you read my profile.
All right.
And I'll tell you if it matches with my team. I never read my profile.
You've never read your profile?
Never.
How were you misdiagnosed then?
Because my leadership team told me what it said.
Oh, okay. Let's read this. So do you want the top chart or the bottom chart? There's 2 different charts we read.
Why don't you explain people to what it is?
Okay, so we look at 2 different things. Let me find it here. This was back at the conference. I asked to have it sent to me. So we look at 2 different things. We look at a top chart, which is hardwiring. Clinically, psychologists, researchers, people who do this for a living. I don't. My background is building companies. This is not what not in HR. It's certainly not psychology. But the people who do this for a living say that we have these hardwired traits in us at about 14 to 16. A lot of it's biology and through the crypt.
How am I hardwired?
You are hardwired on your top chart as what's called a tech expert, which is big vision, forward moving, self-motivated, self-driven, self-confident, competitive, self-starter, macro, deductive, decisive. That's the starting point of that profile. Does any of those words not fit?
They do, but I also got told introvert, shy.
Okay, hang on. Get to the next one. Lower B dot. That is not introvert or shy. You are still assertive and proactive. That is analytical, resourceful, factual, research driven, numbers driven. You look at numbers to be strategic, not
100%.
necessarily feelings.
I don't care how you feel. I tell
You don't care at all. That's exactly
I-
what this says. It says, now I'll tell you in the percentage wise too, without getting too specific, you're in the top 34% of those population who is more strategic in that regard. I mean, you can relate to people as you need to accomplish your goal, but it's not how you're moving your own needle. You're not having to go get everybody's consensus or feeling or feedback.
No.
You got them to be your best friend in order to do the right thing. You will move people in the direction you need them to go, but that is as a strategy, not as a need.
100%. I'm very numbers driven. I do try to treat people good. I do try to motivate because people want to feel good.
Mhm.
I do believe in that.
Right.
But selling is actually an uncomfortable sport for me for whatever reason.
Because it's in your dots. It's not an uncomfortable sport from a
I know how to
goal,
become a
as you
salesperson.
need
Correct.
to
I knew how to
do it
become a
to-
salesperson. Yeah.
And the bottom chart, if you can see it here, which I'll cover here. So I'll just show you your top chart. This is your forward movement. You're gonna lead to the front. You're gonna go to the front. If you're starting the back, you're gonna find your way to the front, especially if you don't trust the leader. If you follow somebody, it's a competent leader that you also feel is at your level of leadership.
Okay.
So you're fine with taking directions. It's got to be somebody who you can trust, that you
Right.
know is not just smoke and mirrors. But that yellow dot just simply says you're strategic. You're more resourceful. Now, a lot of us can be strategic in other ways. I also have a high A with a high B, so I am on that more intuitive, more gut feeling, more relatable. I'm going to I look at numbers because it's what I do from a strategy point, but you internalize that. And then,
Yeah, I just live by numbers. I mean, my whole life
Absolutely.
is numbers.
Yep. C dot simply says you move fast. It says that your pace, your patience, you can multitask, you can jump in and out of things, you can put out fires. You can move fast enough that the ends can justify the means. Sometimes you can put together structure, but you don't need it to accomplish what you need to get done. You can jump in now, get that done, show up here, read that, do an introduction. Are we started? Yes. Bam, bam, bam. It was not, hey, I need to get to know this guy a bunch. It was, let's get rolling. So I'd say that C dot means you're a multitasker, fast. Why are we still talking? If we know it needs to get done, let's get moving.
I try to keep the average meeting to 15 to 20 minutes.
There you go.
For that reason. No matter if it's a new meeting or not.
Right.
I was just on the phone with a private equity firm, Trust Point, really nice guy, Skyrose. He's probably was like, why this guy don't me in 15 minutes? Like, great guy, super nice guy. I'm like, we resolved what we had to do.
Because
We're
at
done.
minute 17, you're multitasking. You're probably
it's just,
thinking
I
about,
mean, like,
you know?
I get you got kids, I got kids, I get you, like, all that. You're from, like, Charlotte, like, I get
yep,
the
let's
whole
move.
thing. Let's move.
Yeah, and that's the low B. So whoever told you that you weren't nice, you're introverted, or what they should have said is, we're leaning into your strengths. Your strength is not in reading the people. Your strength is in being strategy with the numbers, looking at where we need to go and how I'm going to get you there. And whether you like me or not is secondary to, do you want to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I don't care if anyone likes
It
me or
really
not.
doesn't make a big
Makes no
difference.
difference to me. No.
Yeah. So
Because
that's what
listen, you're damned if you, I tell people this all the time.
but that's a
no
big
matter-
difference
no matter-
between being introverted.
Listen, the majority of people are not going to like you in life. That's just a fact. And if everyone does like you, boy, you're a fucking wet noodle.
Right. Are you disrupting anything? Right. And this is natural for you to be disruptive. Comes
really?
naturally. Yeah. Disruptive is a negative, right?
No, listen,
Disruptors make things happen.
I think if everyone likes you, you're a wet noodle, you're a doormat, and you're never going to accomplish anything. Because for you to do anything of substance, you got to piss people off. Like, because you're going to leave people behind.
Right.
You are.
Right.
Like, listen, I'm not rude about it. Like, every guy I grew up with knows where they are, why they're still in the old neighborhood, and why they're still there.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
that's not being rude. It just is what it is.
It is what it is. And rest assured, not everybody likes you.
I'm fine with that.
That's good. That means you're doing something, right? That means you're not a wet noodle for sure.
Yeah.
The last part of that, the D dot, that's why people, if they get their feathers ruffled, it's because that D dot shows you have a high standard. You are in the top 34% of the people who are going to be detailed, accurate, on time, as expected, come through, high morals, high ethics, just not going to drop the ball. If you are going to be measured by that, if you're accountable, not just responsible, but also accountable, you're going to cross the finish line with the ball.
100%. You have to.
That's the D dot. But here's what happens. When you do that, you expect that of others, and that's uncomfortable for others. And so that holds them accountable, which ruffles their feathers, which I don't like Lance. Why? Because I told him I wanted to accomplish it. I told him I wanted to triple my revenue and exit at this, and now he's holding me accountable to what I said, and I don't like that. And so you may not like everybody, but that's a profile that's going to hold people accountable. If I have a coach, that's who I want to do it.
I mean,
It's the coach who wins.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, it's I always tell people I got a standard, and you're gonna hate me if you don't live to the standard.
Right. That's exactly right.
But that's just like I said. To everyone.
Exactly. And you were in the top 34% of the people. And here's what's nice about it. That doesn't mean you should be in the top 2, because then your standard maybe would be inflexible. This is accountability, but okay, we can pivot. We can move without.
You got to be able to pivot.
be able to do it.
Everyone's not gonna.
There you go.
And what's the bottom chart mean?
Bottom chart is, so you might like this. So I'm going to just say you're also pretty high on the logic, meaning you can relate to people, but you don't take things too personal. You kind of, you also recognize when someone needs a hug, and you can give them a hug. You can give them a list. It's kind of in there. That's that 7 on the bottom.
At a time, it's not personal.
Here's the bottom chart. This is what it's saying. This is how people, this is how you show up to be successful at work. This is what you do, which is big, big, big vision. Still high vision, but relate to people. When you got up there and you get people to come and on the conference, and you're inspiring, and you ask the right questions, and you do the podcast and people listen, you are warm, relatable. That is that B dot here. This is what you are naturally. This is what you do to be successful, which is doing what you're doing right now, having people in, doing that warm relationship.
It's funny.
Salesperson, learning to do all that.
It's funny I show off the chart there at work, because I conditioned myself, and I tell everybody this: you are a salesperson, and I learned that at a young age. And I knew naturally I wasn't, because I was like kind of, not I use the word shy, but then when I learned, like, if you believe in what you're selling, what you're doing, it's easy to sell without even selling, because you just know you're going to deliver.
Right.
Like, and you were at the conference, and you saw me walk up to every table, every single person.
Us multiple times.
Are you happy? And like, no one does that at conferences,
No.
which blows my mind that people have 1,000 or 500 or 2,000 people show up to see them.
Yep.
And they don't shake every single person's hand. I just couldn't imagine not doing it.
Well, I mean, that's because that's literally in this hardwiring. It says that is the standard that you'll have, and that is going to require that social dot to go outside of what's normally comfortable for you. You don't need to do that because you need that fulfilled, but that high standard that you've created here, that D dot on that top chart, says I'm naturally wired this way. I'm going to make sure I meet the standard that I've set for myself.
And my team.
And your team, because you're leading them. So your standard. So then down here, this is natural hardwiring. This is modification. Your modification says, in order to do that and be successful, I go out of my way. I bring that social and bring it way out, so everybody thinks I'm just here for the party and for them. But you're not. You're here strategically. But you bring that up. You still have high standard. That hook dot comes back saying, I'm going to jump in before I have it all figured out. This profile here says we're going to run faster than what our coverage is ready for, because I know we can cover it as we go. In other words,
Oh yeah, that's a fact. I mean, that's all my companies grow so fast.
That's why listen, go fast, because if it grew this way, you would be a little bit more structured, safe. This is an entrepreneur. This is somebody who can deliver on what they
do. You hire that guy as a salesperson?
Yes. You want to know why?
Why?
A and C. They have a high A and a high C, a low C. That's all I want in a big salesperson. If I'm trying to double, triple, the biggest thing I'm looking for is high, low C. That D dot, that can be malleable. That can go up or down. I can tell you some great salespeople who may have a low D, but hard to find. I shouldn't say that on air, but I will say what I'm looking for is high A, low C. So yes, I'd hire you as a salesperson. And especially this bottom chart, I'd hire every day as a salesperson, 90%.
What about as management?
Who are they managing? Everybody can be hired as a good manager. You in management, yeah, for sure. That in management, sure. But what are they managing? Technical processes, people, salespeople?
Salespeople.
Yes. Top or bottom chart? Bottom chart for sure. Top chart. Everybody can manage somebody.
Yeah.
They just got to understand themselves, right? I've seen some great managers who have nothing that would, it's self-awareness. It's when we understand, how would I manage that, right? How would I coach this person?
How did you get into this? Because you sold multiple companies now. Mortgage finance. Who did you sell that to? The mortgage company.
Wilshire Investments bought Paramount Financial out. That was Wilshire.
And that was your company?
Yeah. Turned it into diversified funding. That was back in Utah.
And then you sold an assisted living company?
Yeah, sold that to Sacred Heart Nursing. Yeah, we had, I've been an entrepreneur since I started young. I was on my own about 15 years old, and was selling t-shirts, printing t-shirts and selling them out of the back of my car.
So how did you get into, I mean, listen, you gotta like go.
It's been hey, we don't have long enough on this podcast, but I'll tell you what happened is
I mean, you're all over the place, and I think it's crazy, but I get reinventing yourself. If you get bored with, like, listen, I came into home services only 5 years ago, and I took over. Like, I tell people, like, it ain't that hard to do something if you want to do it.
So your bottom profile, I'll just give you a little insight here. Your bottom profile, this one is my top profile. You're literally that profile there on the bottom is what my profile looks like on the top, except for I'm the top 2.
So that's natural for you.
Natural
where
for
mine
me
is
yeah.
work-wise.
Everything I'll tell you what happened for me. I built these companies. I didn't know. I mean, I knew I was entrepreneurial. I thought maybe it was just a ends to the means. I like to make money. I did a few transactional things and realized that you figure out how to make money, and it's less about chasing money, about doing things and making impact and doing things that are interesting and learning something new. And I'm not saying you're not trying to make some money, but through the process to kind of figure out who I was, chance to build a great company of technology. We had a text message marketing company that I built with my best friend since 5th grade. That was probably the most fun I've ever had.
You guys sold that.
Yeah, that was acquired by a publicly traded company. I had to stay on it for a couple of years. So fun. It was called Boomtext. Anyhow, exited that, and I was kind of in between things. I had started a golf ball company called Dollar Ball, and it was. Do you remember the Dollar Shave Club ads that came out a few years ago with the guy that would do the? You remember that? It was also Dollar Shave Club, and it was it was like a catchy ad when viral ads were starting to come out.
And you shaved for $1?
No, you got a subscription. It was a subscription model.
Gotcha.
It was like what was the other one? Came Charlie's or something like that. But anyway, Manscaped, whatever.
Manscaped. I use Manscaped. I think
So
everybody uses Manscaped.
it was when all these box things like the Birch box and all this stuff was coming out, and I thought, God, I would like to have some recurring revenue. I had a really good video maker that was, videographer that was on my team, and took some creative guys with me when I left the other company, and we were just trying to figure out what to do. So we started this golf ball company. Meantime, a friend of mine, guy I went to church with, he was actually kind of a mentor almost for me, and he sent me this survey. He sent me a link and asked me to do him a favor and take it. So I did. A couple weeks later, a guy I'd never met called me and read back just like kind of what I did with you just a minute ago. Read back my survey, and I was sitting in my office. It was big. I had this golf simulator. So it was big office. It wasn't fancy, but it was nice. And I remember sitting back. It was WebEx because it wasn't Zoom at the time, right? It's 2015. And I sat back and I said, can I cuss?
Hey, curse it.
I didn't know. I said, did you bug my fucking office? Because he was saying stuff to me that was so inside, it felt, how did you know that? I was like, did you read my emails? It felt so strange. And one of the things he said is everybody thinks your life at the party. And I remember that profile at the bottom. He said, everybody thinks your life at the party, whatever. But you actually don't want to be there if it doesn't have a point to you. If it's not and I went, shit. I said, that sounds manipulative. And he says, am I wrong? I said, no, you're totally right. But how did you know it? Because it's in those dots. And I just thought, okay, that's weird. Fast forward. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't know the guy. Fast forward 2 months later, I get a call from the guy who sent me the survey originally, my friend, the mentor from the church. And he said, I got a client on the other side of town. I was living in Arizona. I moved back to Arizona after traveling to different places. And he said, I got a client on the other side of town. I was on the east side, Gilbert, and this is way over on Happy Valley on the west side. And he said, it's about an hour and a half away, but they're a residential stucco company, siding and stucco, plaster. And they want to hire you as their CEO. And I was like, thanks. Hey, good to talk to you. But I'm not looking for a job. And what are you talking about? He says, based off that survey, they want to hire you as their CEO, not interview you. They would like to hire you. And I said, what? He said, do me a favor, go to lunch with them or go to dinner with them. And just, if you're interested, ask them for whatever you want. They want you. I said, tell me more about it. They were doing at the time, they were around $38 million. Their owner had passed away unexpectedly, unfortunately. It was sad. Brought somebody in to run it, and it was going backwards. They went from 38 to 32.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow they saw my profile. They saw that thing that I just showed you in my buddy's list as he was learning to do this. And they said, that's the guy that we want that one. He called me. Long story shorter, I guess. I went to dinner with him 3 hours later. And literally at that dinner, they didn't interview me. They basically talked about my profile, asked me some questions about is that true for you? Would you do that? How would you do that? I was like, yeah, that's what I do. At the end of that, I walked away as CEO. And I went in there going, I'll just go to dinner. And I walked away to Steak 44. I still remember, I think is where it was in Scottsdale. And I walked out of that meeting wishing I'd asked for more money because they gave it to you without, no pushback, nothing. I thought, damn, I did not ask for enough. And a pretty good, thanks. Good structure. And the crazy thing is that took me 8 minutes to do the survey. I took the job as CEO. Within 2 years, I had turned it back around. They went from 38, 32. I took it back up over 40. I was heading that direction. I was like, I'm out because I wanted to still go coach basketball. I was like, that's what I wanted to do when I started the Dollar Ball company. Is I just wanted to hang for a couple of years and do some basketball. But they intrigued me so much by their confidence in these stinking dots in the survey, and they nailed it.
So how do you wind up coming to own one of these things? Is it a franchise?
Yeah,
License it?
so basically, I did that. I exited. I started a couple other things. I did a nonprofit that was called First Nations Limb Preservation to help reduce amputation rates in Native Americans. I used this survey to kind of organize who would go where, and it was like, wow, that kind of ran itself, but it wasn't quite business,
Yeah.
even though I used it in a construction company. So then I built a couple to kind of help out alongside the nonprofit. I started building surgery centers, outpatient surgery centers, and they were outpatient endovascular. So we were focusing on lower limbs and arteries and veins and such. Long story short, again, I took an exit there and spent about a year figuring out kind of what I wanted to do.
So you guys sold a nonprofit too.
Yeah, well, a nonprofit still exists. Didn't really sell that as much as just that was a passion project that I had along with basketball. And so yeah, when I exited this last one, I just didn't want to start a new
What are you
one.
doing with basketball? What are you doing with basketball?
I don't do anything now. That was back from about 2015 to about
Are you a hoop
2019.
player?
I was in high school. I was, and then but I had a chance to coach. I took some time off and had a chance to coach with a Hall of Fame coach from Michigan who moved to Arizona. And honestly, he's probably taught me more about business and life as a school teacher, coach. But he's in the Michigan Hall of Fame now and coached some of the greatest, like
What's his name?
Kurt Keener.
Jesus
Kurt
Christ, come on, man.
Kurt Keener. He coached some good guys like Weber
Everyone's
and
the
Battier and
I had dunked on him too.
yeah, probably. So he taught me a ton, man. We had a chance to coach a couple good guys. I told the story at the conference that summer league, the year I started coaching with him.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Service Titan and Rilla, our technology of choice to helping us scale and grow our business and making sure all of our viewers have the technology to scale their business so when they want to sell it, they're able to.
Sitting in the gym, watching, figuring out who the team was going to be, and 2 7-foot guys walked in. One going on to get drafted number 2 in 2019, I guess, and the other one won a national championship at Kansas. And it was funny because that was the same year I'd kind of found out about Culture Index, and it was literally thinking, shit, that's what I want in business, is the ability to look at somebody and say, you're 7 foot. I'm going to put you as a post. Because in business, I'd look for a sales guy, and you'd hire a sales guy and find out he's a point guard. Oh, yeah. And then you're just giving him a book on being taller and send him to a seminar and think taller. And you're like, shit, if I could just have known you weren't 7 foot.
Everyone thinks they're a sales guy. I love when people tell me they're a sales guy. They're like, yeah, I could talk. I'm like, that's the worst thing a sales guy could do. Shut the fuck up and listen.
That's the big mistake that most contractors, I think, make, is they hire the nice person or the person who's a good talker.
Nice guy never gets the prom queen. I'm not being rude. Like, it doesn't happen. I mean, literally.
That's not rude. It just is.
I mean, it just is. I mean, it's just, and it's not a matter of being, the one thing I learned is, and I've now had thousands of salespeople work for me in my career. Like, and, I'll be very transparent with you. I can't tell you who's going to make a good salesperson or not just from out here.
Amen.
Because I believe your track record will speak for itself. Mm-hmm. But normally great salespeople don't leave a ton of jobs, meaning I only had really 3 jobs my whole career, right?
Yeah.
My whole career,
yeah.
Right? I worked at Yellow Book,
yep,
Verizon, and I got recruited to AT&T, and I went on my own.
Yep.
So really, my whole career, I had 3 careers, right?
Yeah.
And 2 of them, I was at the top of the heap. The first one, I was okay. I was at the top of the heap, but I was still a good sales guy.
Which one were you?
Yellow Book. I was young.
Yellow,
I was 21 years old.
Sure.
Makes sense?
Verizon, you were top, right?
Top guy in the
I
country.
heard you say that, yeah.
I was top, and nobody believes me when I say that.
Why? I don't understand.
I think because I'm such a business guy now, and I really don't, I'm not really flashy. I don't come off as a sales guy. I'm not well dressed, as you can tell. I'm not real flashy.
But isn't that the mistake of that people make? Is that's the typical salespeople. You have to be well dressed and flashy and all that, but that does close sales.
I think what comes out of your mouth closes sales. I mean, like I've always said, it's like people are like, oh, that, the old, and I'm not being sexist here because everyone's heard this, and I double down on this. It's a matter of fact, people like hire that, and no one does it in my organization anymore, or any of them, because I debunked that. Oh, hire her because she's beautiful, right?
Right.
And people will talk to her. You're right, that's probably true. But people are going to waste a lot of her time unless what's coming out of her mouth is so impactful, which there are a lot of great female salespeople. There is, right? No different than people say, hire him. He's good looking. A lot of people are going to like him. He's charismatic. It doesn't matter unless it comes out of his mouth and it's impactful.
Right.
Right. So I'm not the best looking guy anymore. I'm 52 years old. I want to be this year. Right. So I know what I am. I'm not delusional, right? I'm not 26, 27 no more. But what comes out of my mouth, I believe, better be impactful.
Right.
So no, most people do not believe I'm not the sales guy I was 20 some years ago,
Sure.
right? I mean,
Sure.
it does change, right? Like
Yeah.
as you get older, you're not as salesy. You're more mature. You look to close the right people, not every people. You learn who's not your ideal client. I have no. I mean, I'll
Sure.
tell you a true story. We were at the conference, and everybody loved the conference. And we've had nothing but the great partners, great people. And one partner only one. We had 85 partners, or 85. We had 80 or 85 partners there. 89
Wow.
partners,
That's awesome.
and we had 88 great experiences.
Really,
I mean,
just one.
one.
Oh.
And the guy never stopped woodpeckering. Thought he owned us. And Tim, when was it? The second night or the first night? I just said it's just not going to work out, my friend. It was on Thursday night, the first night, and I walk around to everyone, and like my wife's with me, Tim's standing next to him, and I'm walking around to everyone. Hey, are you happy? Do you need
Yeah.
anything? And the guy just blasts me, and he literally says, "I need more leads. I need more leads." But this was his whole time he was there. Can you give me a shout out on stage? Can you email blast everyone? This is like nonstop texting me, Tim and Bill. Like he's the only person. Like it's just in his nature. But he became one a sponsor only 2 weeks before, and we were sold out for 3 months. But he
Yeah.
came in so heavy, so hard for 26. Like just really just sold us on letting them in with
Okay.
big dollars. And I just said it's not going to work out. But the next day he came up and he apologized. And I said, it's all good. I said, let me just show you something real fast. Because I already knew. Because it just happens to be coincidental that night when I was walking by, somebody on his team stopped me. I said, I got to tell you something. He goes, this is our 89th conference this year. His fucking 89th
89
So you-
conferences. Holy
this year.
cow. I take it back if I said I did a lot of conferences. Not even close to 89.
He goes, you by far, are the number one conference, not just for us for the leads and demos. He goes, I've never seen someone host a conference and be with the people, walk up to every table at dinner,
Right.
shake. He goes, you shaked every single person's hand in the lunch line. He goes, it's unimaginable to me.
Yeah.
And he goes, I Googled what you're worth just to see. I was like, that's even more mind blowing.
Right.
He's like, it's insane.
Yep.
He's like, it's insane. And so the next morning when he came back, and he apologized. I said, yo, do me a favor. Let's just walk up to your booth real fast. We walked up his booth. I already knew the number. I said, how many demos do you have and how many leads do you have? And the number was like, what, 47 and like 22 demos, something like that, Tim? Yeah. And the guy was like, oh, when we walked away, he goes, they must be assholes. They were telling me they didn't have enough leads. Like he started making excuses. And I was like, listen, like I get your personality is to push. But like I do this conference, we make no money from it. We spent 2.3 million. I mean, you were at the conference.
Yep.
And we sponsored 2.25 or 2.3 or 2.32. They're figuring out the numbers now. So I'm gonna like be up 50 grand or down 50 grand or flat.
Yeah, it's like
And no one understands that's not why you do a conference. You do the conference to build a community, a movement, and it will work out with me where I'll find the right partners. There's other things like I have an abundance mindset. If you raise everyone, everybody wins.
Right.
But like, here's a guy that we're probably not going to bring back next year. There's a very good. Matter of fact, we know we're not bringing him back. I mean, but that's besides the point. Because there's no reason for it.
Right.
And that's when you get older, you have nothing to sell, and relationships are so much more important.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing I would tell young sales guys versus old sales guys. If I had to do it over again, I would have made relationships with everyone throughout my career,
Right.
like whether they bought or not.
And I think that's part of the beauty of this last conference is that, you know, the way you guys put it together. And I remember just the first day when you came by, I thought, well, maybe you were just passing by and, you know, said hi. And I was like, oh, good. I got to see, at least got to see Lance say hi because I didn't expect to see. And then like literally every session, every time you'd come back, hey, you doing okay? You guys good? You need anything? You need anything? One time you caught me so off guard. I was like, I don't even know what to say. I just I don't need anything. Yeah, no, but it was like you were around a lot. It was, I don't know. I thought it was very, for us, a great community.
And that's the whole thing. And that same thing works for in business.
Right.
Like all my companies grow because I say this all the time. People buy people. And you want to have an environment where people know they're important. And I do think that's where I don't want to call it a test, so I apologize.
No, you can call
A
it a
survey.
test.
No, I
It's,
mean,
hey, listen,
when it comes
I got
out,
way too
it only cost me a minute. It only
Rain
took
Man
me a
in the
minute.
beginning.
It only takes me a minute or two to do it. Maybe it took 5. I don't even know. But I can tell you this is when you look at that, I know our hiring has gotten more stringent because we let some bad people into our organization that has hurt our culture.
Right.
And I can only say since we started, and people do matter. People build your company, you know, and that's where I think a lot of people don't understand the importance of people.
Right. Right.
And they'll fight with somebody over a few $1,000 raise or something instead of saying your value add here. Now, as long as it doesn't get to a breaking point, right? Like it gets to a breaking point when you get too greedy, right? I always say hogs eat well, pigs get slaughtered, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
it's just, but people make all these small companies up. I mean, I know you're in this business now. Do you really talk to people about that? Like, your people is your company. Do you
Oh,
have
I
these
mean,
conversations?
so yeah, it's the reason that kept me from starting another company was that we could still be strategic with our clients and to go in and say I'm not trying to change their process strategy, but people are going to be the ones who implement that strategy. And just the same way on a basketball team, I could have, I think I mentioned this, I could have Phil Jackson's playbook, great Hall of Fame, obviously Chicago Bulls coach, but I'm not going to win any championships if I don't have the right players execute it. So when we go in, that front end of what we do is like, let's make sure we have the right people. Like, let's make sure we have the right people on the bus, the right, you know, players in place. And then do we have the right managers to manage those people from the beginning? Because that's sort of the key is you get the right talent, but then you don't have one. I think that Gallup latest poll shows that 67% of the people are leaving the manager and the boss, not the company.
Listen, I say this to everyone. Out 90% of the reason why people leave a company is their frontline manager.
Yep.
Meaning
Yep.
the person they directly report to.
Right.
They just can't fucking stand them.
Right.
Like,
And it's a key to growth and scale is like you have to be able to understand somebody who's not like you. Because if you look at our profile, which I so thoroughly believe in the data because of the companies I built after Culture Index and then just my own experience now working with the lots. And we were some of the larger companies around the world, honestly, in technology. We have a couple of clients that, have a lot of employees. We get a chance to look at a lot of data that way. And I'm just absolutely sold. I'm convinced of the accuracy of the
I can tell you this. These people don't realize it. So when I was at Verizon, I was their #1 salesperson in the country.
Mm-hmm.
In the country.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went on to be their #1 district salesperson in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Manager, right?
Yep.
And it was funny. Everyone's like, there's no way, this and that. And when I left, and now you got to think about this. I'm not going to say the guy's name because he's a family, he's a father.
Okay.
He was the GM in our Chadsford office, right?
Okay.
And when he left there, he wanted me to come to Philadelphia with him as a district sales manager. Now, mind you, I was making about, at the time, $300 and some thousand as a salesperson, which is good money.
Yeah,
This is 20
Sure,
years ago,
sure.
man, 25 years ago.
That's good money today.
It's like 500, 600 today,
Sure.
right? And I wasn't killing myself. I was selling the phone book, man, some digital marketing,
Right.
like it ain't a hard sell, right? It's still not a hard sell if you can deliver, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this job down in Philadelphia with him. Inside of a year to 18 months, we had the #1 sales team because I'm with my team. I'm driving them to appointments. I'm I'm hands on. If I say let's be here at 6 a.m., I'm here at 6 a.m. I'm sleeping in the office, And when I left, no one called me to see why I left. How did AT&T recruit me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here's a true story. I got him promoted by being his #1 sales guy in the country. He was the GM at the time. So I had a district manager who was one of the best number-wise DMs, but he always took care of me. His name's Bill Cormier. I still love him today. Still friends with me.
Okay.
His boss at the time gets promoted to area vice president.
Okay.
Or GM.
Okay.
Like a bigger role, right? To a bigger division, right? So he wants me as his district manager. Of course you do. I don't blame you, right? Now he gets promoted to area vice president. So I figure I'm going to take over this Philadelphia division, right? Why wouldn't you?
Backfill, sure.
I'm your
Not
guy.
Right.
I'm your guy. He says to me, you don't do a good enough job public speaking. You talk with a slur. Now, he couldn't say anything about the fucking job I was doing, how I was leading. about my public speaking and I talk with a slur. Like, that's your concern? That's your concern. And that's how he used me to get what he wanted. And when he got what he wanted, and I literally, my phone just happens to ring probably 2, 3 days later, and it's Neil Salvage. The long story, I'm out 18, and no one ever even called me to
Figure it
say,
out. Number one guy
number one guy.
and never figured it out.
And then I wind up taking yellowpages.com as a startup and took that to $159 million, youngest VP still. Like, my whole career was just off of that one if they would have promoted me,
Right.
that competition never spins up and competes with them.
Yep. Yep. It's crazy. And I think about it even with my clients, my home services clients, that little tweak of one hire. I have one of my first clients. That was his sort of story. It was one opportunity to move one person made massive impact. And he went from, kind of exit at nothing to turning the whole thing around.
Of course. I say it's everybody.
Little tweaks.
Because somebody once asked me, I said, what would you have done in that situation if it was me? I said, I would have said to that guy, yo, I'm going to teach you how to public speak. I'm going to teach you how to polish it up a little bit, and we're going to work with you. And that's why I'm so grateful to a guy by the name of Neil Salvage, Danny Deal, Charles Stubb at AT&T, because that's what they did.
Right.
They saw this guy that was a little unpolished, hey, and said, let me clean this up. Now, did I go back to just being me again after I left AT&T? I did. I'm not going to lie. When I was there, I was wearing a suit and tie every day. I had to speak, and I talk like these private equity guys. But the problem is you can't relate to the masses when you talk like that.
Right.
You just can't.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Yep.
It works in your little community.
Right.
But it doesn't work to the masses.
Right.
Just doesn't.
Yep. Yep. And then the thing about the opportunity that was lost is they couldn't identify on the outside. So instead of valuing what you brought, which would be your vision, your strategy, your drive, the fact that you would sleep in your office, that you'll get it done. If I gave anything to you, I know you're gonna win. Like, literally, I'll take you on my team. It's the reason I was telling Tim, hey, we'll come back because of a couple things. Number one, I know where the conference is gonna go because I see the profile, and now I believe in the dots. And so we literally, anytime I can look at, if I'm doing business with somebody and gonna be working as a partner, invest, but I want to know what their profile is, and we're going to be investing with you guys going forward. And I know where the conference is going. So that's huge for, that opportunity. I don't know. I think for our clients to be able to see in somebody without seeing the outside, what the strength then is on the inside, so they can train like those guys did with you. Hey, we can polish some of this because we can't teach the other. You're naturally wired for that drive.
I don't think the outside tells the story of someone.
Absolutely not.
Like, somebody once said to me, like, if a guy's not ripped and in great shape, he doesn't care about himself. So that's not true. Why? He doesn't have the money to eat. Healthy food's more expensive.
Right.
Like, I grew up poor.
I did too.
So, like,
Listen,
healthy food's
I
more
still have to
expensive.
eat some Velveeta and some powdered milk every once in a while just to feel at home.
But it's just, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
it's
no, I get
just
it.
different. Like, so, like, that's not true. And maybe someone's working 18 hours a day to feed 4 kids, and their wife is sick, so you got to take care of them. Right? There's always
something.
There's always there's always more to a story than what you see.
Yep.
And I just truly believe that. Here's a question for you, right? Why do you think most people? Because the test isn't expensive, right? Or the survey. I'm sorry. I mean, like, it's not like.
Yeah. Hey, listen. You call it test. People understand that.
It's like, I think it's like 10 grand a year or something like that, right, for an organization.
Yeah. Yeah. And our model is an all-in, deal. There's no extra cost when you do the surveys. And part of that is the alignment. That was one of the things that was so interesting with the story you're just telling me that I thought about, was like that the person who didn't promote you because of, public speaking, slurred words, or whatever it might be, what does that actually have to do with the traits that you need to be successful in the job? That's an outward appearance that can be trained into. You can teach. It's like teaching you a software system and hiring you because those are skills that can be taught.
The majority of people in certain places, especially people making decisions, prejudge everything.
Yep.
Tattoos,
Yep.
the way you walk, the way you talk. Listen, I never had any tattoo show until after I sold my 4th or 5th company.
Yep.
And I got my sleeve done. I've always wanted a sleeve. I loved my brother Alan's tattoos. My brother Alan was tattooed from his neck down,
Nice.
his whole body. He didn't give a shit. He was a biker, just freedom of expression. I've always loved his tattoos. Always, always, always did. But wherever we went, everyone looked at Alan different. They just did, right? They just did.
It's human nature,
So,
unfortunately.
like, I know people look at me differently. And I got my sleeve done. But I don't care. I don't need. It doesn't matter.
Now
how
it
you
doesn't
work
make
with
any
me. It don't make a
difference.
difference.
Right.
Like, if you decide not to do business with me, don't do business with me. Like, I don't.
Yeah, I'm not chasing that. But isn't it interesting how like we don't we don't necessarily identify even the traits. This is one of the greatest things we do for leadership teams when we have nothing to do with their hiring. So that technology company that we work a lot with, we do a lot on their leadership side of things, and it's really just identifying and getting alignment of what's important to each. So in a salesperson, for instance, I can tell you like, hey, the majority of our home services companies that want to like double and triple the revenue, this is the profile they're looking for. That still doesn't mean I'm not going to ask you, what is it that you are looking for in a salesperson? And we have a way to identify these are the traits based off of your vision for your company. These are what you want in an accountant, in a dispatcher, in sales, and
What are the key questions I should be asking a salesperson? Because I think it's the most important role at any organization. I think it starts there.
Yeah.
And then, yes, of course, you need leaders and CSRs are salespeople, in my opinion. I don't think there's any difference.
No, I agree.
I think managers are salespeople. Accountants, my accountant team ain't the best salespeople, but we love them. We tell them all the time, you guys are fucking salespeople, but they still don't listen.
You don't want them to have a salesperson profile. I will say that. I will say that.
Listen, none of them do, except for my
Good.
sister
That's
Jolene.
good.
But the rest,
your CFO maybe.
Yeah,
Your
my
growth-centered CFO maybe. But
the rest of them, but they're still great people. They're all
absolutely,
nice people.
yeah.
So what questions should I be asking my salespeople?
That's a good question. I would say I'm not the, I used to say I was good at interviewing and I probably was.
You better be good shit. You're selling this stuff.
But I don't, because interviewing is an old process. Like the interview is the last thing that we should really be doing to validate is the profile true? Because what I'm looking for is skills that are hardwired in somebody. Here's the deal: if I ask a salesperson, if I ask a friendly guy who can spin a story or think on his feet, here's a question: what happens when you get a bad lead? You go out on an appointment. Tell me how you're gonna handle that situation. And he says, "Oh well, and he says some good story, right? And it sounds all eloquent and it comes across, well
You might hire
spoken.
him.
Might hire him. Do I actually know if that person is hardwired as a hunter or a farmer? I would say it's one of the biggest mistakes that most of my home service companies have is they have a whole bunch of salespeople they don't understand are farmers. They're very friendly, aggressive farmers, and they are not freaking hunters. They don't. A real salesperson, I don't care what they say in the interview. What he does or she does is when they get a bad lead, they go find a door next door, or they get a good lead and they got momentum. So they knock on 3 next door and they figure out how, hey, we're doing this house and I noticed this house and I noticed that house and I'm stopping by because I'm in the area. And so I'm going to give you this. I mean, they figure out how we're going to get leads. They don't put bad leads. Bullshit. They kick doors down, and you can't get that in an interview. You can get that in a profile. When a company paid me what I asked them for, plus 10% whatever was going to grow, plus a car, plus I want to be home by 3:45 every day. And they said, you're going to turn the company around. They didn't interview me. There's not a freaking interview question they could have asked me that I couldn't have answered. I knew nothing about construction. None of my fields before that were construction. They said, we think you can't touch something without growing it. I go out of my skin when I start to go strategic or talk about growth businesses, and I get to my clients. I got to go, whoa. Maybe some of them don't want to. Maybe this is, don't filter everything through your lens of growth. But if I could find 12 of me to grow my sales force, I wouldn't have to teach you a damn thing. I'd say, there's your goal. Oh, sorry, I'm not setting your goal. You're going to set your goal and you're going to double it. Because if I set it, you're going to go, what? I started in Culture Index and wouldn't let anybody tell me what the best newbie had ever done. They would say, well, you're going to, I said, no, don't tell me. I don't want you to set my expectations. I know what I think I'm going to do. Because I'm wired that way. Literally, I'm the top 2% of people who say, if I touch your company, you better be ready. And I only go work with companies that are ready. Like, let's go. Let's do this.
And how many companies do you have now as clients?
I try not to say too many. In the 50-ish. Some of them have we try not to disclose too much. But, we have a few marquee that I would say teach us a lot because we're able to get a lot of data through that. I would say majority of my clients are in the kind of home services.
Home services.
Yeah. Honestly, that and a lot of car wash space. I work with a lot of car washes. Some areas where we
car wash is a great business, huh?
It's a wonderful business.
Yeah, we don't realize that's a good business.
Yeah, no, it
Do
really
you own
is.
any?
Not yet. We're looking at that as a potential future.
That's a good business model.
My problem is as an entrepreneur, every good business I look at, every time I get in with a client, I kind of fall in love with the people and the process and learn about the company and think, God, I want to do that. I want to do that.
But I have a leadership team. I'm fortunate I got a leadership team. People ask me how I do it. I'm like, I don't do it. My leadership team does.
Right.
I have the best leadership team in the world. Listen, I don't want to hold you up. If
You're not
people
holding me up.
want
I'm
to,
loving this.
if people want to get a hold of you, because I definitely would tell people to talk to you.
Yeah, that'd be
You
great.
guys got a great product. Where do people get a hold of you?
They can reach me directly. I mean, they can call or text, but I'll give you my email as well. We're all independent um, contractors, I guess, or licensees, so we can kind of build our product, our program, our book of business, and on our own. So each of us have the same product. We use a little bit of different approach. I tend to like to bring my experience in business to my clients. We have a good team that does a lot of hands-on.
How many people are on your team?
So my hands-on are the three of us, and then our corporate kind of back office. So it's myself and Jasper and Tina.
That's a nice little model.
Yeah, it's a great model. And our back office kind of handles all of our infrastructure. So they do our billing and kind of accounting side. And I'll tell you, it was a first time, and I'd been a user, multiple companies after the first experience. And the first time I ever got a client, like, it got paid. It was so different than starting your own company, because usually I'm 2-3 years in before I take a salary. Before I was like, wait, this is a check that I could spend. Like, I actually got paid from. So that was a little bit different. I'd been a solopreneur in years since I, back in high school. But it's been great. I get a chance. When I exited the surgery center thing, I bought this big motor coach and a Jeep and a dog, and started traveling the country. And I've been doing that for like 3 years. I'd show up.
Assuming you're not married, no kids?
No, so now I'm engaged since then. I've got engaged, got a great fiance, and she travels with me when we go see our clients, and she's part of the team. So she was a
Just living
social
the motor
worker.
coach, just hanging out.
Well, we have a house in Arizona too.
Uh,
So that's home base, and then we get on the road. And so
you
like
just,
I drove
you just
out.
drive the motor coach.
I drove from Arizona to Tampa. I
And how
flew
long of
from
a ride
Tampa
was
up
that?
here.
How long was the ride was that?
What's that?
How long of a ride was that?
We did it in like 3 days.
That's not
So
bad.
we stopped for Thanksgiving in Dallas on the way out, and then she flew back to Dallas. I flew up here. I'm flying out to.
So you just sleep on the road?
Yeah.
In the motor coach?
Yeah, it's a big 40-footer. It's got a couple bedrooms or a couple bathrooms and a fireplace. It's nice. I pull in my Jeep. So I had the Jeep at the Marco Island. I parked it right down the road, and usually I have my dog. I left my dog in Dallas it's been a good life, man. It's been a fun. Hey, listen, this is my second one. The first one I got, first year I started doing Culture Index. I was kind of on a roll, and less like competitive. I wanted to beat some records, and so I jumped in, and I put like 100,000 miles on it the first year. And then sold it because I was like, that's too many. Let's get a new one, and did it again. So this is my second one, and it is so much fun. And I get to show up on site to my clients. I got to be, strategic, talk to them about what they're doing, where they're going, what boulders we're moving, what goals we're setting. I get in, I do show up on site to these executive offsites and get to use the stuff I've been doing for 25 years. But the product I have from the basic level, I can go into home service and say, do this and this, and I'm going to move the needle. And then I get to use all the passion I have of like, now let's talk about how we're going to grow this and exit. What's your succession plan? What does it look like to make it self-managing? What if we scaled it and, start teaching them to buy other things? And like, how do you have an upstream, downstream, get into another vertical that you could go trucking in this side, and that's going to go into your pool building. And let's go from pool building into, hardscapes, and let's go into hardscapes into roofing. And I don't know, this is the most fun I've ever had building any company, and it's the tool that gives the confidence, because I can make the recommendation. In consulting, you're kind of guessing, I guess. You're hoping based on strategy. This is data. This person's going to show up, and now we can be strategic. Now we can guess, but the variable of the person is taken out, because that was always the hard. You probably know this from business.
Oh, I guess.
Strategy, it's the people. You got the strategy, it's fine. You
I'm
put
gonna
people in,
make my
screwed up.
partners take this before we partner.
Every one of them
partner.
should. I wouldn't buy a company. My best.
I don't buy companies, thank God.
Yeah, that's right. You partner them.
I partner. I got no problems.
But I would have every one of, like, if a company came in to purchase our organization, they would know who our staff was ahead of time, because they would know who you keeping, who's in the right role, who's in the right seat. Are we buying revenue? Are we buying people? And oftentimes, if you have it ahead of time, like I have some smaller companies that are just, I love the digital marketing space because I had that digital marketing company for a while. So I tend to find these little 4 or 5 person companies that call me that are trying to scale, trying to grow. And one of the best things I've been able to do is help them align their smaller team with their clients, so that when we have cohesive communication, because that's one of the toughest things that we can do as leaders, is to figure out how to relate and understand somebody who's not like you.
Oh, without doubt.
And when you can get that communication alignment, so if I'm a small marketing company and I'm working with, some business, Joe's Pizza, I got to understand who Joe is, because if my ideas are out here and my propensity for risk is out here, or, my detail orientation is here and Joe is here, all Joe is doing is frustrated with me as some flaky marketer, as opposed to me understanding this is what Joe needs from me. Can I use some systems or put some things in place to make me more effective with Joe? Yeah. Now Joe's sending me business, as opposed to going, I like my marketing person, but they're not very good. Now he's going, my marketing person's like my team, right? So
How
it's one of
do
the coolest
people
things.
get a hold of you?
Oh yeah, I forgot to go to that. Huh?
You did?
I should. See, I get excited about
Yeah, it's good.
about the business. I forget to talk about the contact. So you can reach out to me directly. I'll give you my phone number. I don't know if you guys get it on there. It's kind of slow. 602. It's an Arizona area code. 602-770-7640. That's the fastest, easiest is text, or of course call, but text. And then my email address is easy to find. S, last name's Brannan, no dots or anything. S Brannan, Brannan at cultureindex.com.
People try Culture Index.
So yeah, I'm going to just extend exactly what we had going on at the conference there. So if you guys reach out, if anybody reaches out, and hopefully they do, I will say it's the most impactful thing I've ever done with my companies. But if they reach out, we'll do the same thing we did at the conference. We'll give you a free diagnostic. That basically means we'll give you a survey. It doesn't cost you anything to do the survey. If you have a team you want to survey, we'll survey your team, and then I'll get on the phone. We'll set up time. I go over it. I literally get on a Zoom call and we walk through. Now I like to do it again, ideally with the strategy, CEO or somebody, and walk them through there and give them some insights. And then if it makes sense for us to work together, like you said, it's a consulting model, and certainly pays for itself within one hire of a good salesperson. Or
That's a fact. What do you think of the conference overall?
Phenomenal. I mean, from a content standpoint, I would say some of your keynotes were Jesse Cole. Like a lot of times I go to conference already and you get keynotes that are a good name, right? But sometimes they can't speak. And other times you get that aren't such a big name they can speak. That guy was both a real popular, good name right now, and amazing content delivery. Just his energy, phenomenal. So I love that part of it. Tim Tebow was great. Wrapping it up with the UFC, that was solid.
Alvarez.
He's so good, and because it was just so relatable.
Oh
right?
yeah,
it was like
everyday guy.
Just,
he's the best.
And it makes you understand, like, that's the heart. When I got up, I did a little talk there when I was there, and when I talk about entrepreneurs, I get emotional because I get what it's like to be in those trenches, and I've been at the spot where we landed a big contract, but we couldn't. We were waiting on the pay, and they're slow. And I'm like selling stuff to pay payroll, and I'm like, God, we're gonna make it, baby. And you look out there and you see the people that are in that spot, right? And it's just maybe that one little thing. Like when I used to sell text message marketing, that I would tell my people, like, you think you're just selling a message, or you're just selling like a $69 a month, but they're sitting at the kitchen table tonight figuring out how they're going to pay the bills, and they're figuring out what's the next move. And like, you might just be that lifeline. And I, at times when I was in my company, sometimes that person, like Infusionsoft for us, they were a CRM early on.
Yeah.
I didn't even know, but I was playing basketball for years with the CEO founder, who was kind of a small business owner in the same spot. We were growing two companies side by side, and I ended up investing or paying to go to one of his conferences, ran him to in the hall. But it's that sort of like hands-on connection. And that's what I felt like from that conference. Is like, you saw business owners who were like, we're going to make it. We're going to do it. And it wasn't, they were there to do something. And that comes, I think, from the leadership, from the start of the intentionality of the way it was set up, the speakers that were brought in, the promotion on the way in. I go to a lot of conferences. This was, from a content standpoint, fantastic. From a leads, from our, what we got out of it, personally, I hope we were able to deliver some, value to the people, and that they got something out of what I said. But I think we got a ton from leads, and, if a sponsor's thinking about coming, I don't know where the camera is. There's a camera, but they should definitely consider it. It'll pay off for us, no doubt.
That's awesome. Well, listen, I appreciate you flying in.
You bet.
Go back to your motor coach, you wild man, and enjoy yourself. I love the
It's
intensity.
great. I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much,
I don't know if
brother.
we got
I appreciate you coming in.
Questions, but it was great.
Thank you.
Appreciate having me.
Let's get a quick picture.